certificate is a really good way to go, and that four guys take advantage of that.
Okay, then we had our traditional associate degrees, which is 60 credits. Majority, well, about half and half. About 30 of those come through Utah State and about 30 from Snow. Isn't that pretty much how it works? So, and we had 6 degrees. Eli Brooks, Brittany Lamborn, Cornea, Cassidy Grove, Ambria Lutz, and Mackenzie Smith. So, congratulations to them. Total of 10 out of 35. So if you do the math, 32%. 30%.
10 out of 35.
Probably 27%, somewhere around there. So pretty good, showing 28%. So congratulations to y'all. Yeah, it's a pretty proud moment when, I'm sure same with down at your GE, when you go to these associate degrees and you see these working mothers and older people that have just given everything to get that same degree, right? Parents, kids are going crazy over there, these people's accomplishments, and then these young kids come walking through with their swag, you know. So it's a heck of a deal. So congratulations, we're proud of you. Thank you.
Maybe could each of them just tell us what the plans are? Sorry.
Oh, appreciate it. So give us where next?
Okay, so really next I plan on serving an LDS mission in Puerto Rico. And then after I come back, I'm gonna continue going to Snow College. And since I didn't complete my associates there, if they said if I do complete my associates there, they'll pay for like 70% of my schooling wherever I go. So I'm gonna go there and then decide where I'm going.
So I'm also gonna serve an LDS mission after the summer. So I put my availability date at August 22nd, and then when I come back, I plan to go to Utah State and finish my degree there. That's
You
so far.
know what degree?
Agribusiness or ag business.
Yes, I'm also going to serve an LDS mission at the end of the summer, and then when I come back, I'm either going to go and try to go to Southern Virginia University for sports scholarships for track or football, and then if that doesn't work out or I don't choose it, I'll go to Snow College, and I think they have an engineering program. It might be a 4-year one, and I'd go start it there, then transfer over to Utah State in mechanical engineering.
I'm going to Utah State in the fall, to business school, majoring in marketing and with a minor in graphic design. I'm going to go to Utah Valley University this fall on a one-year scholarship and get my bachelor's degree in psychology.
I'm going to go to Utah State this fall and then go into elementary education.
It was pretty neat. The assistant provost came up to the kids when they were lining up to march and made a big deal of them. Took a selfie with them and recognized them. So, and Utah State kind of did something that I thought was goofy, but they didn't ask my opinion. Used to, they would have the big ceremony and then you broke into the individual colleges in the afternoon to get your certificates. This year, a lot of this walking and the diploma awarding was done the next day. So some of these guys went the first day and did the walk and the big speech and the spectrum, and had Secretary of Agriculture was actually the keynote speaker this year, did a tremendous job. But then the actual awarding of the diploma cover, the diploma's not in it, but the diploma cover was done the next day. nice little ceremony they had. So some went to both, some went only to the second one, but it was a neat thing. Utah State treated them really well. And again, the assistant provost made a big deal of it. It was a neat day.
Congratulations.
And you guys are welcome to stay the rest of the meeting. It's usually a lot of fun. But if you choose to go do something else, we would understand that.
We have.
Well, as much as I
We have chocolate though. Get some chocolate on your way
Yeah.
No, thanks for coming. Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Congratulations, guys. That's great.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Okay, any questions on the minutes?
Any questions?
If not, I accept the motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now the bills. I have a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make the motion that we pay the bills.
Have a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Action items, approve the 2022-23 school calendar.
I think that's actually ratified. We modified it last month and approved it. We decided to go on from the one before, we changed it, so we'll go on the Monday of President's Day with the stipulation that we do something special for that day. And then we had enough hours that we just took that other Friday off. And I've had no complaints about any one of them. Prior to that, I had several suggestions, but nobody minded either one of those.
Nobody was upset that we weren't going on Friday. Okay, well, I'd accept the motion to ratify the school calendar.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, staffing's next on the list.
I think there's a couple of items that we may still have to go into closed session for, but so that Mrs. Esther Holt and Mrs. Hatch don't have to wait around for all of that.
We kind of want to stay, we want them to stay at the end of the meeting.
They had talked to me earlier about being on the agenda and they just stuck it under staffing. Their contract is actually up in August of this year. If we were going to do a full RFP, we probably should have started that in February so that we could get the RFP out, people have time to respond, and it didn't push things into the summer, even though if the board would choose, we would probably still have time to do that. It would just kind of crunched up, but we used to do this on a yearly basis, and then we went to the 3-year and then a 5-year, I think, on this one. My proposal would be to the board that we go with a 1-year extension. Then in February, if the board chooses to do an RFP, we could do that and they would have time to respond. We would have time to respond. If you choose not to at that point, it would be fine. However, I think it would be only fair to them after 5 years of that we probably on that 1-year extension open that up for a negotiation of potential need to increase some costs because of inflationary costs, especially in cleaning supplies. So that would be my recommendation is that we do a 1-year extension and have them come back next month with their proposed contract for that year.
Are you guys all right with that? Or would you rather do an RFP? Right now?
No, not for us. It's just a lot of work for us. We want to stay.
Okay. Any other questions?
We need a motion. So that kind of what we talked about, Rob.
Yeah, so do we have to open it up every year, every 3 years, every 5 years? Can we just renew, or how does that, just for information?
By law, it should go out to bid every 5 years. At least, at the minimum.
So we'll extend 1 year and then next year we'll.
Yeah.
Go through the paperwork.
So it was 3 years ago that it was put out there.
I think it was 5.
So if it has
We
to
did it
go
5,
every
I believe.
5, then don't we have to do it right now?
No, it was only 3 years ago that we did renew.
That's the contract.
Yeah, I think it's 2019.
16th of August, 2019.
Yeah.
We're okay, okay. So we're within that 5 year time.
Yeah, it went, well, we just redid, because it went till August 2022. I think that's when we added to our contract. And then 2019, 2020 is when we added the new building.
Yes. But we actually posted this in the paper for an RFP in 2019. So
So
that
okay,
means we still have 5
So
years.
reset that clock.
So maybe we do it next year, but do it on a 5-year. deal.
You don't have to, you can still do 3 years, 3 to 5. Whatever you choose.
Yeah, so I mean, like, if we do a 3-year, then we're on that 3-year contract. We haven't come back and asked for money in that 3 years or a 5-year. So we're locked in at the rate that we put in for that amount of years.
Well, they say stuff's going up, so why don't we lock you in for like the next 15 years?
Yeah.
So that it can't
I don't think we
change.
we could do 5. probably.
Good. Well, let's extend it a year and do that next year.
And then could you come with whatever changes and
Yeah, we can do that on June board meeting. Is that what you
Yes.
want? Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
We need a motion to do that.
I'll make that motion that we extend for a year and then we negotiate the.
Okay.
Cost.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, anything else under staff?
I think we'll need to go into the executive session.
Hotline policy.
So this is, Johnson was at some meetings where they talked this up. It's a board rule came out that basically says, and what I've been told is we don't have to have an official policy, but we have to have a process in place. So I put in your packet the hotline thing from Oregon. Basically, what you have to have is a place on your website where people can go click. So if they want to report improprieties in purchasing or staffing or whatever, but they don't want to call the school, that they can call this safe place and report it. And so what a number of the schools have done in Morgan, is the ones I talked to, because they seem to have kind of done the most with it, have done is their link on their homepage is to Duke News Motta News. And so any calls that come in under those things are forwarded to Duke, and then Duke processes it as needed. Now, in the time that Morgan has had that hot spot on their homepage, he said, report neither nor summit, but we've got to have it there to meet board rule. So this would be approval from the board to add that on as a hotspot. The Duke would act as our facilitator through news.
Is this like for people like want to report anonymously or just not to the school?
Yes.
Both. So even when they report that it just stays anonymous and whatnot.
Yeah.
Then we have to investigate.
and it'll go to the state auditor's office. And actually, if you look at, I can't remember what attachment it is, but it's, see, so after the implement a hotline, I think it's called the fraud risk assessment. If you look at the fraud risk assessment, there's a line item on there that has that we implemented a hotline. We get 5 additional points for that. We want to keep that score high so we don't get audited by the state auditor's office. I attached the one that has to be filed by June in there. So that's part of that as well. Part of that fraud risk assessment. Have that hotline in place.
Okay,
Missed out on 5 points somewhere. I'm not seeing that.
So this is something we have to do. Because I don't want to do it. I'm
Of
not
course,
going
the first thought that hit me was,
anonymously.
you increase the number of petty complaints. By a measurable amount. Some of them just because somebody's mad at the school district and they see something petty, they call this deal.
But didn't you say they kind of weed them out?
Well, you have to see if it's something worth investigating. He would just give us, see if it was, you know, and the reason it was put in is, like you say, the fraud, if they see things from purchasing. It can be just other petty stuff, but that's what they're trying to do, is make sure that we're following procurement policies and those kind of things. But you're right, Pete, it could add to that. Now, the other districts that have done it, I haven't seen it, but it could certainly happen.
I just thought we had a pretty good hotline there, Mr. Moss left, there, and here. That's all we're doing with complaint.
It is, but they've regulated that we have another hotline in place that doesn't come to our district.
We didn't call somebody else.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve making a hotline policy.
Throw outside the table.
What if we don't approve?
We don't get 25 points.
20.
Increases our risk of an audit.
Yes.
So what are you guys' issue with it?
I just got it already, got everything we need to handle that situation. And just one more thing coming from the state.
I think if you can do it anonymously, I don't like that.
I don't like that. You gotta look at my complaint, stand up and be camera.
I guess I'll support it if it's good.
Like Mrs. Johnson's phone, let's go for it, but I'm not impressed with it.
That's the biggest to go for. Don't say that.
Pretty girl's fault goes a long way.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion to approve the hotline mandatory policy?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second? I'll second it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, truth and taxation.
I'll turn most of this to Jenny so she can pull it up and walk you through the numbers.
Pulling it up, so that is just gonna go on the website somewhere?
I don't know if you
Is
saw
it
that.
like a button that someone's gonna click? It's gonna take them to.
If you go look at mortgage or there's a print out here what theirs looks like.
That should be under I2. In your, I1 and I2 are the slides we're going to be talking about. So I went on the certified tax rate today just to make sure they haven't posted our assessed valuation. They have not currently assessed our valuation yet, so I went to the state's legislative estimate page, and our district summary says that next year we're gonna be based on that 1.7 billion. So we were pretty close when we were doing the guesstimate. We were between 1.5 and 1.7. So if you jump to I2,
We don't actually have I1.
there's no I1. This is I1, your legislative summary, and I wanted you to see this assessed valuation piece right here. 1.7 million. That's what I believe is going to be in our certified tax rate, but the tax commission has not set that yet. This is an estimate from the State Board of Education. So we'll work with that number until we know the true number.
So what does that number represent? What is
The assessed valuation of the county,
of the county?
yes.
Okay,
So
that's like all the homes and
Yeah.
land.
Yeah, so last year, assessed valuation for the county was 1.4. They're proposing this year, it's gonna be 1.723
increase 300 and change.
million. Okay. So if you look at this difference column, I just want you to know that we're proposing holding the rate. So what that means is the rate won't be any different from last year. But because this assessed valuation is proposed to go up, our rate will fall. Okay, we will not get the revenue that this would generate if we held the rate. If we hold the rate, I anticipate getting 6.8. Sorry, I'm too far down. That's a block.
So what we get would stay the same. That's what they do. They adjust the rate, so we get our.
Yeah, so what they try to do is keep everything revenue neutral. Okay, so as your assessed valuation goes up, your revenue stays the same.
If we do this, we hold the rate steady, how much more money will we take in?
1.1 million, 1.08, 484, so this number down here,
102.
yeah, 1028. So
Okay.
this money would be used to cover all the overhead costs of inflation. It wouldn't be wages, it would be the overhead costs for maintenance, for supplies, which have doubled and almost tripled in some cases. It'd be to cover our food program, which I'm gonna estimate probably will need to cover it by $180,000 next year. We normally cover that between $90,000. But we're gonna need a little bit more to cover it.
Will this cover all of our inflation costs?
It should, yeah, we should need to raise the rate.
You're not thinking it's in excess of what we need.
No. No, if anything, we're gonna go into fund balance a little bit. I've almost got those numbers ready, and I'll review those with our audit committee, and then I'll be ready to present that budget next meeting. But that's just barely gonna break us even, I believe, on our overhead costs.
Question, is there a maximum we can go?
Yes,
What's the maximum?
So-
Not that I want to say we want to go maximum. but
I should have put that in
What's the
there.
difference between what we could go and what we don't?
So we can max our board levy at 0.0025. We are only at 0.000852. We have a lot of room there.
Almost two.
Yeah. So, and we can max our
And
local
now,
levy.
so basically the max is, we can't go any higher than that, and you have to go through truth and taxation to get to even that.
E-
Right.
Anytime you change any of these top three numbers right here, you go through truth and taxation.
To hold the rate, we have to go through truth and
Because
taxation.
we're essentially
Raising.
changing those rates.
Is there I guess, let me rephrase that question. That max amount, is that a per truth and taxation or just that's the max you can go, period?
That's the
Period.
max you can go, period, right?
So you
Those
can't raise it
numbers.
0.0025
No.
each truth and taxation. That's just what you can go up to.
Yeah, that's the
maximum you
total.
can go up to. Is there
Well,
a max of how
so-
far you can raise it per truth and taxation?
No.
You can go all the way up to that.
Some people raise it all the way to their levies to build buildings instead of going through the bonding process. I think that's risky. I don't ever think that you should max your levies because you don't have anywhere to go after that. Unless your assessed valuation is gonna triple, and then those rates will fall again every year. There are school districts that truth and taxation isn't even a question. They're going through truth and taxation every year. Just to hold the rate.
But that's just to hold the rate, correct?
Not all the time. I mean, Morgan raises their rate. They're almost at max levy.
But they
But
don't have
there's
bonds.
two different things though, right? There's the rate that we're talking about
Bonds for a long time.
holding and where it's at now, and then there's the voted leeway. There's two different things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we're proposing is not to raise taxes. We're proposing to hold the
Hold
tax
it.
rate.
So what does that do to us, as far as where we're at, as far as tax rate in the state, just out of curiosity? Since
Well,
change that.
I don't believe so. I think we'll still remain the lowest.
Right now, we're not the lowest, right?
Yes, we are.
I thought we were the
We are the lowest and there's,
We were
for
second to
this,
Park City, but. the
for
tickets
this
became-
tax year, we are the lowest.
Oh, so we'll actually, even with this, we'll drop down, because I remember we were the second lowest.
You came back that one meeting, said this will. We're below Park
Yeah.
City now.
Yeah, and they don't have any interest of going through truth and taxation. They receive so much money.
They ain't bringing it back.
Huh?
They haven't bringing it back a long time.
Oh, they pay everything back to the state. Yeah. Yeah.
I was just curious, that's kind of. neat that we have a program.
What are we bringing towards the bond?
This payment right here, this debt service payment.
Oh,
Yeah, so
so
this
it's part of the rate?
underneath, so this rate is sufficient to cover the debt. So this generates by itself. So this rate may change depending on what we need to cover our debt, because one of our bonds is gonna be falling off. So that's gonna fall, that rate's gonna fall. Don't think it's this year, I think it's the next year. But that's not set by us. That's just, we just have to bring in enough revenue to cover those. And no more. We don't bring in extra there. So that's what that is. Charter school levy, that doesn't even come to us. We just have to show it as part of our. Yeah.
Where does that go?
Straight to the charter schools.
We don't have any charge.
State.
So that money is collected here and then goes elsewhere. No, it's collected through our county's tax.
Yes.
And it
Everybody
is
has
a
a
little
concern.
better now because it does show up on the tax notice. It didn't used to show up as a second. It does show up on the tax
Yeah,
notice.
it does.
as a
You know what?
separate thing.
This is, man, I'm just getting up into the weeds here. How does the charter school become a charter school? Does the local district allow for a charter school to be created?
Some,
Or,
some local districts sponsor charter schools. Other charter schools are sponsored through their own independent charter, but they still get state funding.
but a state ultimately will say, yeah, go for it.
And they're not private schools, they're charter schools.
But
which
like
means
a
they get-
local district couldn't be like, no, that charter school cannot come in.
Well, they wouldn't have to take them, but they could still apply to the charter school
Funding.
board. There is a separate charter board in the state.
And that's to get that funding, basically. So it's a state. That's
Yeah.
basically a state tax.
Right. Which when charter schools first started, there was the big thing, using state money for these charter schools. It's been so long now that it's kind of a moot point, nobody fights it anymore.
Yeah.
And some charter schools do a great job, and some do a terrible job. And like I said, some districts sponsored charter schools, others are independent charters.
Thanks.
And then we got a few privates, not a lot of privates in Utah. A few.
That's what that money is.
So if we didn't hold the rate, didn't bring in that million, we basically have to cut into the
Fund balance.
Fund balance, meaning the
Unappropriated reserve.
what's our reserve at right now?
It was just over 4. And some of that is restricted.
We have to have about 4, don't we? To, like, it's required.
Well, it's not
It's not
required, it's
required.
suggested,
Yeah.
recommended by our auditors.
But you want to make sure you've got some cushion.
If we went into a school year, we could almost run the entire year off our fund balance. And that's, I think, a good thing. Because if the state shut their doors, we could at least go as long as we could.
Give us a little time to figure out plan B.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion to have the truth and taxation hearing to hold the rate?
And this will put some real work on Jenny's office too. They have a protocol, you have to advertise a certain way, you have to have the advertisement a certain size, yada, yada. And then we'll have to have the meeting in August. And it's gotta be a separate meeting.
The meeting that where we can't, even if you come, you can't do anything about it anyways. It's already done here.
Right.
now.
It'll be done basically when we do the budget.
Well,
And technically you can,
I was
but
gonna say, you guys can, if there was enough uproar in the county, you guys could make the decision and I would just have to go back and re-budget.
Go back to everything.
But then we'd have to go back to the state and reverse that through the taxation and. it's a
the
process.
budget's approved before the truth and taxation meeting is the ironic
Yeah.
part.
Well, if we can just hold the rate and cover our costs.
Well, that will cover our costs though.
Yes.
That's not a bad thing. Because there shouldn't be anyone out there that doesn't realize the price of everything's costing more.
We're still at the bottom of the heap, one, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in a pretty good spot.
I mean, propane alone is gonna be 200,000 insured.
More.
No, I don't anticipate it being more. We're at,
Than it was though. Is it doubled in price?
yeah, it doubled. Doubled on us. See it going much higher, but I don't know. I'm gonna estimate a little higher for sure.
And natural gas has gone up. This is
Mm-hmm.
off but the city, Lake Town City was approached by a gas company, and at least there's some talk of bringing natural gas into Lake Town, so that'll be a nice thing for the school district. After we bury the big tank, but we'll take it.
Could we run that gas into the tank?
Maybe.
All right, someone want to make a motion to have truth and taxation?
I'll make that motion. Truth in the taxation.
Okay. Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
I,
Okay, motion carries. All right, information items, report on the security audit.
Ask Mr. Johnson to take the lead on this. He requested from UEN a security audit, which is a good thing because when UEN does it, it's a fraction of the cost if you have a private provider and they do a very thorough investigation. But basically what they do is come in and try and hack the system, see where we've got weaknesses. And there. I think they kind of fancy themselves as professional hackers. I don't know how good they are, but they came in and sat down with us and went through their audit, came up with some some suggestions for us. And so I'd like to let Casey explain what they did and what those suggestions are. But it was an interesting process.
So basically, the penetration test would be, to try and put it more on terms that you could understand, would be going through your entire semi or trailer. Make sure air brakes, engine, turbo, gaskets, the tractors, the PTO, the baler, everything works. Because obviously, last thing you want to be driving down the road with cows in a trailer and have the engine blow up or whatever, or be stuck hanging with the equipment not working. So penetration test is to hopefully find the holes and the problems prior to someone else exploiting it and then causing damage. Getting either into the financial systems, SIS system. I didn't even think about it till today, but I don't monitor my kids' social security numbers, which they're in SIS, they're masked out. If someone did get that, they could exploit that. And I, as a parent, probably never know till someone told me it had happened. So this is hopefully preventative maintenance to what potentially could go wrong. So that slide's just showing segmentation. They kind of explained it as different rooms being locked up. So if you had access to this room, you then need to pass through a door to get to it. Otherwise, if you're basically students, network would be in this room, but they wouldn't be able to get in that room unless they got through the door or got a key to the lock. And that's kind of what that's referring to. Next one. That one's a little hard to see. That is, so they get on the system, they start running software and capture the encryption keys that are going from your computer to the software. Once they capture that, which is called a hash, they then run it into another free utility that anyone can download, and it starts to try and crack the password. And then once they have the password, depending on what permissions you have or what access you have to whatever system, then starts opening more doors. So that's the screen there where they were able to get passwords.
And
Makes
they were
sense
able
there?
to get some.
Yep. Nothing's bulletproof. The little passwords aren't secure. And that's the kind of things, you don't have to have a whole lot of tech knowledge to crack passwords. You can find it on YouTube. You can go to Amazon and buy a $30, $40 little flash drive, plug it into a computer. That little device will scan and run anything that that computer is connected to on the network. They'll actually run free. You can buy it from Amazon. So it's not the hackers that are based in Russia hiding it all over. It can be the student can go buy that device, plug it into their laptop, bring it to school, plug it in, and start scanning everything. That's why the segmentation of the network is pretty crucial, as well as passwords. Try and lock it down so students can't get to the higher priority stuff. Make it so the passwords make it so they can't get in. Make sense, kind of? They were there just talking about passwords, complexity. I think they said the minimum recommended is 13, but I had read somewhere else it was actually 15. So I guess it just depends on.
Minimum characters.
For your password.
Yep.
Character length, sorry.
Common words, so the hacking programs use common words out of the dictionary. The bigger the computers, the faster it will crack them. Which goes back to why it's good to change passwords every 30, 60 days. So if the password hacking device gets to the 12th character and your password's 13, but the next day you change it to a new password that's 13 characters, that password hacking utility now has to start all over again because you just changed your password. That's why most sites or companies require you to change a password often.
Does the district have any sort of a password manager for the staff?
Not currently, they actually mention that. Which is it's a double-edged sword. Because if you have the password manager on here, you're logged into it. And if you don't know that there's malware running on this, now your password manager can be open and vulnerable to exploiting everything that you have a password to. But on the flip side of it, if it makes a person that doesn't want to write it down or have different passwords for every site, as long as they do their due diligence and keeping it secure, helps. So it's
I hear you.
it's trying to find the happy medium to keep everyone secure, but not take away productivity. Trying to find that balance is tough.
I'd be curious to know how many of the staff have some sort of a document somewhere on their computers or whatnot that it's just open up, it's a Word document that has that or something. Where it's like if something got in, boom, all the passwords, whereas a password manager, you have to break into that first.
With the two-factor authentication, so that part makes it more secure. 2 years ago when UAN did the audit, they actually found that, where staff had passwords in clear text on the network share. Yep.
But they didn't find that this year. They did.
Not that I know of. So I do keep passwords locked in Excel, but it's 256K encryption. So if you want to get it, you can get it, but you're gonna have to. It'll take a long time to get it. But I also use a password manager. Next slide. That's just showing that they did find information, but there again, that's going back to fixing the tractors, the semi-trucks button up, fix the oil leaks, the tire pressure, do the due diligence to make sure it's secure.
And this one, we spent some time talking, it's tough. Because the PII stands for personal identifiable information. So when Jenny does payroll, obviously, personal information's on there, it's got your social, it's got. But how long did you say we had to keep payroll?
99 years.
99 years. Wow. So we used
So
to.
do you, I mean, you don't have 99 years ago.
I have, I'm pretty sure we have clear back.
So what we've done, we used to have all that stuff in boxes after boxes after boxes downstairs, which was really secure because anybody could get down there. I mean, Pete probably spent some time down there. I don't know, but so then it was okay. So we've tried to put it on the network. And you gotta put it on, it's a lot more secure than it used to be when we had it stored in boxes in various rooms around the district. But, you know, they get into it and say, we got this person, but we gotta have it. So we had that conversation with them. We need to manage it as best we can, but there's no way we can do payroll and everything online and keep records like we have to keep for as long as we have to keep them. It's gotta be there. We just gotta do as good a job as we can of protecting it. Because the fact that it's there, yeah, it's there.
It's there.
We just gotta do all we can to protect it.
And it's hard to scrub the PII when you're uploading it to secure sites like URS. I have to have all that information. That's a URS upload right there. W-2s that has all your PII information. We thought we were doing a good thing and putting it on a district-only drive, but they still have to do that. So we're working on making that more secure.
So do they have solutions for this, or is it more of just like, you guys need to figure this out?
No, they gave some solutions.
There's solutions for this, and there was more. This is just a quick overview. Other items, they did have solutions for it or recommendations of how they approach it. They have to kind of keep it global because they obviously don't. So we're Rich School District, you go down the road to North Summit. North Summit's gonna have their kind of own little way and their avenues and servers and such. We have ours, so UAN tries to give kind of a global, here's some recommendations, but each district is unique, so it's kind of, here's some ideas, but it's left up to the district.
Basically, ultimately, we do have to create our own solutions.
Based off of input, correct. Maybe not own solutions, perhaps maybe just what fits best for us. That's just kind of showing more, once you get access, you start to move laterally.
For all of our drives.
So that,
It's all a double-edged sword. The more you put on the network, the more everyone can access the network. But if someone gets access to it, the more they can now network too.
and that's the frustrating thing for me, way back a couple slides ago, I said your own security is your weakest link. But once they get in, then it gets a lot easier the way they describe it. They, they didn't get right into the district office drive, but they got in enough to start accessing other things and then eventually made it. If they'd have just tried to go directly through Jenny, they probably. Anyway,
So how did they get in? Did they, like, how long did it take to get in?
For that one, I don't know, because there were actually 5 or 6 people that kind of have their own little areas. And so Nate did some of that. Once he started capturing, there were 3 users that he started capturing the network, or their hash keys going across the network. And then he started running those against the brute force machines. And he said to crack it didn't take very long.
And basically cracking it, that he got their password.
The
To get it.
hash key, and then that goes into the system, and that's what it spits out of what the password is.
And it has to be someone that has access to payroll to get to that. So it was our office that they cracked. That's my.
Yeah.
department.
I was masking the names, see?
Has to be one of them.
To get that access, like even start that process, what needs to happen? Like, can somebody just come on here and join the Wi-Fi and they can start that process, or?
Yeah, so what UEN did, so they didn't do an outside perimeter attack as much as an inside. So they brought their computer, plugged it into the network, which any user could do that has access to the network, and then start running it. Does that
So
make
basically,
sense?
they pretended like they were a student,
Student, staff.
staff.
I have, for all purposes, guests are actually in that room there with the door locked. So when I give you a guest key, or when someone comes for guest access for ball games, they are set in the room, locked. The other users, I have these rooms built, but that door is not shut, so students and staff can pass back and forth.
Got it. So from it'd be pretty.
Let
hard
me
from
back
outside.
up, those rooms are actually built, I just don't have the door put in yet. Because you have to program the switch to hand out these IP addresses, so if you're a student, you get this set of numbers, if you're a staff, you get this set. You have to go through routing, you have to have the server configured, you have to have each port on the switch configured, the wireless. You don't just make a room and say, go there and here. It has to all be configured.
I guess, just going back to that, it was just a question of, so basically they started with the user access.
They started on the network and then started watching the network. They're called packet sniffers. Wireshark does a free program. Plug it into the network, so you can bring your computer, plug it in here, say, hey, Casey, I need access to the staff network. Sure, here you go. Your computer starts running, all the traffic gets captured, and you start pulling out those hashes, put them into programs. Bada bing, bada boom. So yeah, they didn't pass through the firewall, but you don't have to. Just like that device you can buy from Amazon, a student could come here with their laptop plugged in. Even if they didn't knowingly do it, the student could pick up something from the website or something else, have malware on there, and automatically it starts.
Whatever you say, Casey.
That was going back to the patching and vulnerabilities. That's why you get updates on a computer to update, restart. Those help minimize those impacts of people getting in. It's not just Windows, Chromebooks, Apple, they're all human made, so they all have flaws, and they all have updates. The servers have it, our wireless has it, the phones have it, our little key fobs that we carry around, that server has updates, everything does. So that was talking about the need to make sure everything's patched. Which I have it put in place, but it doesn't always synchronize, it doesn't always work. I was talking more for the logging of the network. I actually just started with some new software. And Rick got locked out when he was in Mexico, the software, and I'll show you a picture of that at the end. But the software, it's AI driven, artificial intelligence, sees that Rick accesses his account in the US. You went to, where did you go? He's there and it says, Rick shouldn't be there. Disabled his account and locked him out.
Rick's never in Cabo. Stop it.
And that's what that's talking about, the need to, so you get alerted, so you find out that your tire's going low before you actually have a blowout or before the little, that's kind of like the sensor on the tractor saying low oil pressure, your fuel gauge saying low. That's what that's kind of referencing. That was a phishing attack, which quite a few attacks still happen through the email. We actually, I don't remember how many years ago, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, an individual, actual live human, went to our website, went and saw who Dell's principal of, who Kip's principal of, made an account through Gmail that said from Kip Motta at richschool.org. Or did it just, I take that back. That one was only K Motta, but the email address, you had to click on the name on a smartphone to actually see the email address. The email address was something like head of school 1975 or something. The person saw that he was a principal, emailed all of his staff trying to get iTunes cards. It all started with the phishing attack. Make sense?
And some of them actually returned the email.
Quite a few. I called actually a couple of the staff members, I called and said, you're not talking to Mr. Motta. The heck I'm not. I'm going, you're really not. I'm not calling you at 8 o'clock at night telling you that. That's bogus. Click on the name and they're like, well, that's not his email address. I said, correct. But it was a live person saying, I'm stuck in a faculty meeting. I need an iTunes card. Can you hurry around to the store, get me a card, give me the code. Some actually thought it was the principals. That happened to actually all 3 principals. So someone went to the website, found out who they were over on staff, emailed the staffs acting as them. This phishing one was asking for people to click on OneDrive, log in, type in their credentials, bada bing, bada boom, they have the credentials. Now you
One
don't,
did it.
unfortunately. But it only went to the Lake Town site because that was the only site they could find the email addresses to. Oddly enough, when they sent it, it was the 3rd time when he finally said, I can't get the email to go through. I actually had to go into the filters through Microsoft that I have in place, and I actually had to force that to go through. They couldn't get it to go through.
So you have to
So
allow it to go,
yeah.
for the test to happen.
Correct. So it does block quite a bit, but unfortunately, it is good, but they still slip past. And so that right there, if you can get someone to enter their credentials, not knowing what they're doing, makes it so you don't have to have a device on the network sniffing out the hash keys.
Yeah, a lot quicker.
Yep.
Somebody's just gonna give you the key to the city.
Yep. And hit the next one. That was kind of their high overview list of what to go through. Obviously, remove the PII passwords, make it more complex. Network segmentation, the logging, alerting, the updating, and then obviously the 2-factor authentication. 2-factor is when you go to a site, you type in your username, password, get login, and before you can proceed, you have to enter the code that was sent to your phone or allow or approve. That's the 2-factor authentication. Makes it so someone would have to have your phone.
Even if they had the password.
Yep. Which 2 years ago, I watched a person at a security conference had 2-factor authentication.
Seriously? Huh. And there's,
Sniffed out the phone traffic, got
So it
it,
did both.
yeah, and there you go. But it does make it so you're less vulnerable, and most people, I don't think, are gonna take the time to do your phone.
pretty soon we're gonna have 3 FAs.
So that right there, the green spots, most access obviously is in US. This one here is legitimate because there was the middle school student. Oh, I just forgot his name. Was actually in Mexico.
It
It's
was
the,
Jolly, wasn't it?
nope, the Johnson kid. Or the son of the Johnson.
Anyways, when somebody was in Mexico.
Anyway, so that's why that green dot's a little bit bigger. The other ones are people going to our website, downloading anything they can off the site, like our information, the calling tree. The one today, they were trying to use bogus accounts to upload information to our site with OneDrive through Office 365.
Is this the same screenshot here that you sent out? So I saw you sent out.
Similar to, but this was today's. I can't tell what colors those are.
Orange.
Orange, I'm a little colorblind. The orange dots there are all the attacks on our network, but were denied. So those were people from those countries trying to get into our Office 365, but were denied access.
Is that just today or is that over a period of time? That's
Sad
today.
thing is, those are the only ones that I know about. Who knows how many others that didn't make it to that system. So this software here is part of that logging system. That's the same software that saw that Rick was out of the US and logged him out.
Just one day.
Yep.
For those instances, like, is there anything, like, I think about, like my credit card, right? So when I inform them, hey, I'm gonna be in Mexico or Canada or whatnot, place that I'm usually not, so let those charges through. Is there something similar that staff can do, going, hey, I'm gonna be in Mexico or whatnot?
The software, you can customize it. So you can allow it and make exceptions for when people go out of the States.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Just to give you an idea, UEN, I think their bill was around 4K, 4,000 or 4,500. I talked to a company today and their price with the discount was only 25K for a year. I say only 25 because most third-party companies are in the 50 up to 100.
Really?
Just to do an audit.
Just for the audit?
Correct.
Wow. Definitely.
Bus driver, you should be longer.
I definitely wrong.
So any questions on any of that?
No, that's pretty amazing.
What's the current requirements for password right now, the character?
That I have here?
Yeah.
And that's not by choice, but it's 7.
So I heard one with a number and a character, and a capital letter.
So out of the 4, I have it set to 3. The 4 being lowercase, uppercase, number, symbol. Out of that 4, you have to have 3, Matt.
Well, so I heard somewhere once if you have a space in it, it makes it a lot harder to catch. Is that true?
And then if you have a word like bear or Bear Lake, if you change the B to a number and a 3, or the E to a 3 and the A to an @ sign, so you can remember it, but if it's not a common word, it makes it more difficult as well. So my 21, 22 character password, my master one, is very simple for me to remember, but there are only 4 letters that you get off the keyboard. The rest are all mumbled, jumbled space stuff that you aren't going to guess.
Would it be hard to hack 7 spaces? I can remember that one.
Well, now that this was public.
You should just go with 1, 2, 3, 4.
That worked.
Oddly enough, most most people, if you don't try to hit the minimum, if you make it a phrase, put in a space and change up the numbers to something that pertains to you, it's oddly easy to remember it. It's trying to hit that minimum number and trying to change one or two characters that, in my opinion, throws people through a loop.
It's harder to.
You make it a little bit of a phrase and then just swap up things, and then it takes out the common dictionary words. And if you can mix in two-factor authentication,
Okay. No, that's pretty neat.
So you should use the same password for everything.
no, because there again, if someone actually gets your password, they sit on your network or your computer and start watching what you go to.
You get your
I've
bank account.
heard of some person doing that.
So they use
Or sticky note and all the passwords to your computer.
Yeah, something like that.
that would actually be more secure likely than just having all the same passwords.
Yeah.
Saving them in your browser is not secure either, because your browser saves it into a secure text file on your computer. Makes it convenient, but not a smart thing.
No, that's good to know. You don't think about that stuff.
No, and by area, you think we're kind of secure, but since you connect to the network, you're vulnerable. You saw right there on the map. Anyone can access it.
Yeah, holy cow, that's just today. I think we ought to try and hack quite bigger.
Oddly enough, the last security conference I was at, the statistics have changed. The bigger companies have the personnel and the money to secure their networks. So they go after the smaller ones who don't have the resources to get the information, and then they climb the ladder.
We go back to, how much money we got, it's all, a lot of it's done for ransom, take over. Hold the hostage.
They actually did that. The person or a company in Las Vegas, they got compromised and they started, the hackers deleted the backups for the company without the company knowing. Luckily, another IT person was remotely logged into the computers, which saved their bacon, because they deleted all the backups, compromised the network. When they found out what's going on, went and unplugged the network. It took them down for 3 weeks to try and resolve it.
Wow.
But they deleted the backups. They're sitting there silently. Otherwise, they hold them ransom. You can't get your backups to restore because you have none. So then you're faced, do we pay the money? Funny thing is, some of the people that do the ransom attack will actually give you the keys partially to entice you to pay more money. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I'll give you some, unlock half your data, but now you start paying me more to get more unlocked.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, thanks for that report. I'm glad you're taking care of that. Just so you know.
Bacon until I make.
I'll keep doing the two-factor. I'm quit testing you every time. Okay.
It is a pain, but it's for a good purpose.
Sure. Well, seeing all those spots on the map makes you realize that there's someone out there looking.
All you have to do is hit approve to lock your stuff down even more. It's pretty easy to hit approve.
Good. Well, thanks for that. Anything else? Select the board members to facilitate interest-based facilitation. Anyone want to volunteer for that?
What is,
That's some negotiations for the teachers classified for salary.
It's just a great big word to.
negotiate what?
Maybe the teacher.
You know, I did it last year. I don't think I did.
We did a couple of years after.
it once or twice.
Just once, because you were on it 2 years ago.
Yeah. You guys need to do it one more year, just, you know,
I'm all right.
now you practice a lot.
Just saying. No, I can do it another year.
You do it one more year. Is that right? Then doing it one more year?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, update on meetings with the NWL, Naylor Wentworth on property.
So, you know, it's been February, or I don't remember the month, we talked about feasibility of track and so forth, and kind of the recommendation was, let's look at some feasibility. So I contacted Philip, weather and stuff, but he came up last Tuesday, walked the property up there. They've been doing some kind of stuff, so he'll give us, it's not gonna cost us anything. He'll give us some kind of a layout and estimated cost, then we can have a discussion with a lot more facts than, oh, we can, or yes, we can.
It'll at least fit, and there's what we need.
Yeah, it was on Tuesday, and it's out of the district. But Rick Lim said he thought it would fit for me.
Years ago, we took a hard look at that. Same situation, what shut us down was the maintenance. in the car. That comes on pretty steady, and it's almost as expensive as a wooden building.
Is it?
I know.
Maybe they've changed the services now, where it wouldn't be that bad, but it was terrible.
Well, Miller or Delta High School just did theirs. It was just over $500,000, and basically that's what North Summit. To just do the refinishing of the track. About $500,000. Now, one of the things when Pete was talking, when we looked at it before, is based on the weather, seems like the better the weather, the further south you go, the more years you get out. The Star Valley has a heck of a time because they're always up there trying to shovel the snow off, and then they get that finish and move it up. So we checked Star Valley, and they get maybe 6 years. Other places get some more, but it's expensive.
Somewhere around 100,000 a year, every 6 years.
We'll figure that, more years out of it than that, but and I haven't talked to Star Valley. So that was a lot of years ago, but at that point I talked to Mark Taylor, who's up there. Mark said they would get out in about 6 years.
That's interesting.
6 years, then we gotta refinish it. Basically, the cost of is putting a track in. But you're just saying, you guys are just saying.
I talked to one meeting this year and they have to refinish theirs and it was $580,000.
How much did that put it in?
We don't know that. He's gonna tell us.
It'll be, excuse me, because of the amount of land work that's gonna have to go up there. You know, we're gonna, to get a level and stuff is gonna take some money. I never, you know, people have said in the past, we talk about, oh, we'll get that all volunteered, but I think when you want to get some level, might not want me on the cat.
Level me.
Okay, so we'll just wait to hear what he comes back
Yeah.
with.
But we did get that at least in play now and see where we go from there.
Okay. Classified salary schedule.
I think we kind of talked about that in your packet. We saw the insurance and so forth would do, so.
So right now we'll kind of stick with where we're at for the time being. Okay. Meeting in the fall. The education partners.
think I mentioned this to you a couple of meetings ago, but trying to get Utah State, Bridgerland, all the people to come over. We did that a few years ago and it went really well. And because we are so contingent on our partners, I just think they need to be reminded who we are and where we are and put names and faces to us periodically. The turnover, Bridgerland doesn't have a lot of turnover, but there's only 2 of the old faces left there that were here. And we did that a few years ago and only 2 from the original, so. I brought it up at the last K-16 Alliance meeting. And we did the K-16 Alliance, Utah State's there, Bridgerland's there, and all of our legislators from this area are invited to be there. They aren't always all there. Brought it up there and everybody seemed excited about it. So I have another K-16 Alliance meeting the last week of May, and they're supposed to come with some dates that work on their calendars. Now that'll be interesting to see, but they're all going to come with some dates, and then we'll see if there's a date in September that at least we can get a majority of people there. Okay. It'll cost us a little money to, because they're all expecting steak. Steak's kind of expensive, but it'd be terrible to bring them to Rich County and feed them salad. This wouldn't be right.
Wouldn't be right. No, I think that's a good thing to do that.
So they'll get us some dates, and then hopefully in June we can firm up a date. I'll get invitations out to everybody. You know, it was neat. I didn't make it, but these kids didn't recognize it, but because way back when the assistant provost came, and then she was at that point, President Cockett was the provost. She came over, but because she had come for that state thing and talked to me about it. Yeah, these are my kids from Rich. I love Rich, and she had a connection. That was the deal. Because of that, she, like I said, she went up to all the kids. She took a selfie with them, and she told me the next day that she had sent her selfie to President Cockett, so she saw her Rich kid. So it's good.
Annie was the same as when she came over.
Yeah.
She was really good with me.
That's good. Okay, UHSAA.
I don't have anything there.
Okay. USBA.
Real quick before we move on to UHSAA, how did, like, maybe a quick report just for public whatnot, like how did, you know, we had some state track, state golf.
So we haven't been to state yet. State golf is Tuesday and Wednesday this week.
State golf. Oh, that's right, it was region golf.
Region. Our girls won region golf, boys got second,
Yes.
vice versa. Boys won, girls.
I think so.
Girls won golf,
Girls won golf.
boys got second, and in track, boys won, girls got second.
Region.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And state is upcoming.
So golf is Tuesday and Wednesday, and track will be Friday and Saturday. You know, we got some chances for some first places. It'd be hard for us to win it. I think we don't have quite enough kids. You gotta get, you know, even if you win quite a few first, you can win it with first, you get enough, but it's all those extra points because they placed down through the region, they placed down through 5 places. The state, they placed through 8, I think.
I think it was 10.
So if you can get some of those, that's where those numbers come into play. If you get people
Placing here and here.
But we region, you know, both region events. Region golf was maybe one of the worst days weather-wise I've ever encountered. The wind at Roseville was blowing. It must have blown 40 miles an hour all day. It was just colder than heck. It was just,
Well, some of them, sometimes you had a tailwind at least.
it was just, no, I think it was always in your face. No
Hey.
matter which way you were going, it was in your face.
Superintendent, could you repeat when you started off there first, it was the worst weather for golf you've ever experienced?
It was even worse than the day.
No.
It wasn't snowing.
It was snowing when we went.
But the wind wasn't blowing as hard.
Just wanted you to remember that day.
Rick was there too. It was, and it just never let up. And then the very next day was Region Track and was one of the best days. Compliment to Mr. Larson and his staff who hosted Region Track, and it was a smooth silk. It just went off without a hitch. It was very, and the weather was absolutely wonderful. So. Oh, that was the update. We'll report next meeting on how many state champs. Yeah, let's have some letters for those kids.
Perfect. Okay, USBA.
I think the JLC, you should have gotten some information in your mailing about the JLC meeting in August. Maybe it hasn't come yet. It will eventually come, so, but we won't. We'll have to select somebody that luck out and go to that JLC meeting again. But other than that, I've got one to help get ready for that meeting early in June, but the one where in August where the board members come and we actually do the document. It hasn't been notified yet. I think that'll be the next major USBA event.
Okay. Bridgerland.
On
Go ahead.
USBA, I did put something in your packet. I can't remember what number it is.
It's L.
It looks like this.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that is Thursday, I believe, May 19th at 7 PM via Zoom, if you want to watch those social media and the law. So USBA is
I think I got a mailing on that. Yeah.
sponsoring
Was it
that.
like behind like the law behind social media? What?
I don't know. I know that they do a whole bunch of professional development series, and that was just fun. Do we have any
Yeah.
explanation?
No.
That's the only thing on that.
All right, Bridgerland. You know, I went over this the first time I've ever been to career days. I thought, I mean, that is amazing.
Cool.
That is
deal, isn't it?
incredible.
Yeah.
You know, I had no idea that it was, I mean, they said it was good, but I had no idea that it was big.
Can I make a suggestion though? If you have any pull at all, could you ask them to do that before May? We're right in the middle of testing, and that is a major,
Yeah, I'll mention that.
yeah,
I'll
if they
bring
could,
that
if they could do it 3 weeks earlier, it would be a lot easier, at least I'm assuming for all districts are testing all the way through the end of school, it shouldn't be, so the kids had to miss a day of testing, and now we're trying to catch up all the 7th graders.
Get that back.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it was.
but it's a cool experience, isn't it?
That was huge. Like from the robotic end of things, and they had other students, and then they had 15 track hoes and a bunch of backhoes, and I mean, it was, and like all Logan City's employees were at each track hoe, and I mean, it was, and fire trucks and cement trucks, and
Yeah.
Utah State brought a helicopter and was letting all the kids get in the helicopter and show them how you fly a helicopter type deal.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, it was, yeah, it goes off to them. That was a lot better than I anticipated.
We've
So
always had a good experience. with all the
it's
kids.
pretty cool that they did that. And I didn't go in all the buildings and see everything, but it's pretty neat letting them all weld. I mean, they had all these welding stations set up outside, and they give them all a welding helmet and say, here. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Good stuff. That's all I have from Bridgerland. Anyone else have anything to do with Bridgerland? All right, Mr. Motta to report to the board on his NASSP.
The last week of April, I was fortunate enough to be able to go back to Washington DC to take part in what NASSP called their Trailblazer Leadership Weekend or week. The first day was all 25 students that were finalists for the National Honor Society scholarship winner, which I think is $25,000 scholarship. There, the first day, they got to meet each other, they talked to each other, and they broke up in little groups and did kind of howdy doody and how are you, where are you from kind of stuff. And then they broke out into other sessions where they talked about what was going on in their schools and some of the pressures and stuff that the kids were dealing with. That evening, we got to meet with there was 38 of the 50 state principals of the year attended. And we were in one room and we got to do meet and greet with them. That was all on the same day. The next morning, we had the principal of the year professional development, where the principal of the year and the digital principal of the year did some professional development centered around your own stories, where you come from, and what you're doing. The National Honor Society kids they got together early in the morning, and then the next day after that, we left and went to the Department of Ed with all 25 of those students and all the principals. And we had a full day of face-to-face interaction with Department of Ed, with Secretary Cardona, sat down with myself, the president of NASSP and the CEO of NASSP, principal of the year, digital principal of the year, and these 25 students, and said, how's it going? What's going on in your schools and what do you need? And it was also a little political there, centered around how the ESSA money was being used and if it was doing any good. You know, the fear of in 2025 that money runs out and we're spending it now, and how each district spent it of those 25 principals in the room. So it was a pretty neat experience. And then that evening we did the big gala thing with where we announced the winner of the Honor Society scholarship and introduced each of the kids and had them come up, and they did it all pretty cool. It was pretty neat. And then the next day we did some professional development in the morning, and then in the evening we went to the Nationals baseball game. And I got to stand up there and say, yeah, Nationals baseball, play ball. It's pretty cool. And then everybody left. I was asked to stay because the next evening, the National Teacher of the Year had their ceremony, and NASSP is a sponsor of that. So I attended that gala, but it was pretty boring. But it was good. I mean, it's a celebration of some really cool teachers around the country that did some fabulous stuff. So yeah, it was good. It's a neat experience. It was pretty cool. One of those days, the day that we went to the baseball game, the president, Greg Wazorik from Wisconsin, the CEO, the digital principal of the year, the principal of the year, and the National Honor Society winner went to the White House and met with Cardona, met the president, first lady, and got to sit down and have a discussion about education in the White House. So it's pretty cool. And I said, I hope I get to do that next year at the same time. So it's fun. But yeah, who knows?
Now, what do you do? Just straighten a few things out for us.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll get that straightened out for you.
You take care of that.
Yeah.
I'll get Bridgerland's
But,
dates moved. You take care of that.
It was a neat experience, a very cool opportunity, and it's neat to run. It's pretty amazing. There's 25 kids from all over the country, different places. It's pretty humbling when you sit in a room with those kids and they start talking and what depth of knowledge and experience and their points of view from, from being an 18, 19-year-old teenager and venturing out into the world and what they're looking for. And it's pretty humbling to sit in a room with those kids and realize that you're way not smarter than them. In fact, you might be the dumbest guy in the room. But it was a cool experience.
Oh, that's neat. Well, I'm glad you get to do that.
I appreciate the opportunity to.
Unique, before Kip even told me that he got the holler play ball, and it was the principal of the year that threw out.
Yeah, the
first
principal of the
pitch.
year, she got to throw out the first pitch.
And he got the holler play ball, but Brent Stewart, who's with Naylor Wentworth, his daughter and son-in-law were there watching the game. So Brent is texting me that night, what's Kim doing? He got the.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They're like, Kip Motta from Rich School District in Utah, president-elect of NASSP. I don't know what else. Play ball.
So I got notified before he ever got out of the ball game.
Yeah, it's fun.
Like
Word travels fast.
Brent's daughter.
It was fun, yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, June board meeting.
When do we have to have budget in?
Budget has to be uploaded by June 30th. The more the better. I was
So
thinking that maybe the 22nd.
So if we went the 21st, that Tuesday,
Is that the Tuesday, the
Mhm.
21st? Yeah.
Looks good for me. That would good for the rest of you.
I will most likely be joining virtually. But I'll let you know.
probably with the 20th, I was one that argued against that last month.
Nope, either, pretty much. Most.
It would only be appropriate that we have budget adoption on the longest day of the year.
You know, that's. We just will drag it out.
Somebody's birthday.
It is someone's birthday.
I'm sure it's somebody's birthday.
We know who's.
Your
They're
birthday?
born on the longest day of the year.
Wow, nobody's mind.
Yeah, it's an original joke.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it on a different day?
No, no, I'm fine.
Maybe we bring cake or
I
something.
would rather not. And I certainly don't want birthday spankings. Be too many.
So we'll have to have a budget hearing first. So we can adopt that in regular board meeting.
Times the budget start.
You sure you want to do it that day?
We haven't gone earlier than 6 PM for
You
that.
do it the day before.
Sounds good.
They start at 6, yeah.
We might want to do it the day before.
No, it's fine. If you want, that's fine, but you don't.
I got a scatter balls that time.
The day before?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not there anymore.
Well, let's plan for the 21st. And if you end up with some big birthday plans, let us know.
We could,
We don't have a party.
I could go any other day but the 20th. I don't know if that's a pretty good day.
Okay, well, let's plan the 21st and then we'll. You guys?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So originally it'll be 6 o'clock.
The budget meeting. Which works out good because that's the date that we had put on the property tax notices that went out in the
Was
fall.
the 21st
Mhm.
at 6 PM? Really?
We try to guess.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's better not to change out because of that.
And it has to
The
be
board meeting,
advertised.
regular board meeting will be
7.
7.
Or should we say following? Could we say?
It
6?
has, we have to not cut off budget hearing early.
That's right.
So-
And if it goes an hour and a half, it has to go an hour and a half.
Oh, but does it have to be
Board
at
meeting.
least?
Board meeting
Time.
can follow.
So if like nobody shows up or only a couple people show up and there's a 15 minute discussion, you could just go ahead and start board meeting.
Correct.
So
So
board
do
meeting will
follow.
follow.
Mhm.
That's a good way to do
Yeah.
it. Okay. All right, now we need to go to closed session. Thanks, Mr. Johnson.
See you guys
later. Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, thanks everyone for coming. So those are staying for closed session. You guys, thank you.
Phil, you pay. Am I out of here, coach? Right, yeah, yeah. You need me?
Don't need you, you're welcome to stay.
Appreciate it.
When's your next event?
The next event, event is the Utah Association meeting the second week in June. And then we have a board meeting in Orlando, the last week of June to the 1st of July. And then we have another board meeting middle of July. And,
December then.
yeah. And then,
Are they all different locations?
yeah, yeah. The one in
You gonna fly
Louisville,
to each place?
well, yeah, yeah,
Are you gonna take your plane?
depends on the weather.
That's awesome.
If the weather's good, I'm out. Yeah, it's a good thing. So,
Okay,
I need a motion to go into.
yeah, we need the motions on closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Have a
I'll
second.
second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, going into closed session, present are Mrs. Johnson, Mr. McKee, Mr. Lamb, myself, Eric Walmsley, Mr. Corney, and Mr. Savy, Superintendent Lamborn, Principal Larson, and Principal Motta. Okay, coming out of closed session, President or Mr. Johnson, Mr. McKee, Mr. Lamb, myself, Eric Walmsley, Mr. Corney, Mr. Saby, Superintendent Lamborn, Principal Motta, and Principal Larson. At this time, I would entertain some motions.
I'll make a motion that we hire Walton as sort for Rich High School in South Ridge Elementary.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, I move that we accept the resignation of Mr. Matt Walquist.
Okay, as the English teacher.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I make the motion that we have Jesse Calder as the head teacher at the middle school and Mrs. Peterson as the head teacher at Northridge Elementary.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I think it needs to be noted that it starts next year.
So the beginning,
I think that's,
the next school year.
yeah, okay.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I'll motion that we hire Tiffany Nelson for instructional aid at NRE. Now that starts next year as well, correct? Starts next year as well. I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I have
I'll
a second?
second it.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So. That's why we.
Okay, anything else? If not, I'll accept one more motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to open that.
Yeah, gives permission. So, we should open up the special meeting.
Should give you permission to open that position up, start advertising. Okay, need one more motion.
Motion, I'll make a motion to bring the meeting to an end.
Perfect. I don't think anyone even needs to second that one.